Hey guys, so this is continuation of a very long course, and that is the long length is because of me. And it is only Saturdays, so it's going on like my other course is previously. But okay, let's carry on with what we were trying to do in Azure security. So firewall settings, Azure firewall manager, and firewall policies. So, what is all that? I'm gonna try to check it out. There's that URL for, okay, so there's a URL for the firewall manager, and I just put it in the WebEx chat. Um, okay, and WhatsApp chat as well. Now, we're just gonna click that link as well and try to go for the firewall, Azure firewall related stuff. So, okay, let me just open that. So, Azure firewall, there are types of firewalls here. There is Azure Firewall Standard, Azure Firewall Premium, Azure Firewall Basic, and then there are Azure Firewall Manager. There are show more pricing and SLA, service level agreement and pricing. So obviously, the basic firewall and all other firewalls, you have to go so ahead and if I go to basic, basically, firewall. So basic firewall is Azure Firewall Basic is intended for small and medium sized SMB customers to secure their Azure cloud environments. It provides the essential protection SMB, small to medium sized business customers need at an affordable price. So even the basic one, you have to pay for that. Obviously, when they are giving extra protection, so if you want to enable that, you need to pay for it. Um, Now, uh, there is a diagram here. What does Azure Basic Firewall do, or how does it support? So there is supports threat intel alert made only. So threat intelligence alert. Right? If there is a threat uh, going on and the firewall detected that, so it's going to. So if there's a threat going on and the firewall detected that, then it's going to alert. Going to do the alert. For scale, you need to run the service on two virtual machine backend instances. So when you deploy an Azure firewall, it is deployed in the background on two virtual machines. And those are high, this is just for high availability. Those virtual machines on top of which the firewall is deployed is, those are managed by Microsoft. We don't have access to those virtual machines on top of which the firewall is deployed. Recommended for environments with an estimated throughput of 250 Mbps. So it depends on how much your incoming and outgoing traffic is. It just depends on that. So 250 Mbps, if this much is your estimated throughput or the amount of traffic that's going to pass through this firewall would be 250 Mbps. If you have more traffic than that or throughput than that, then you have to go for other higher versions of firewall. We can see here that there are VNets here or spoke VNets, hub and spoke model. So there is that firewall here, then there is Intel. So traffic is denied by default. So The thing is that your local branch is connected to the firewall, and then the rules of the firewall basic rules are applied, and then the traffic is going from local branch to the VNets. Inside the VNets, you have virtual machines there. So the users from local branch are connecting through firewall, and then they go through the firewall rules, or policies, we will go through as well and check. So there is layer 3 and layer 7 connectivity policies, user configuration, layer 3 and layer 7 connectivity policies, and Microsoft Threat Intelligence known malicious IPs and FQDNs, fully qualified domain names, whichever domains the hackers use to attack when they are known, or whichever IP addresses that are known for to be used by hackers to attack your network. So those all are checked, cross-checked. Threat intel, threat intelligence, that if there's a threat going on, somebody's posing as an on-premises and then trying to connect as pretending as a user, but is actually not a user. If there is threat intel on the traffic and or network address translation, network and application traffic filtering rules allows inbound, outbound access. So the thing is that whatever traffic is coming, if there is no threat detected, obviously it is allowed in. Otherwise, traffic is denied. So the firewall rules on premises connect through firewall to the VNets, Azure VNets. Azure Firewall Basic is similar to Firewall Standard. There's the next version of Firewall that is standard, has the following main limitations. So what are the limitations of Azure Basic Firewall? Or supports threat intel alert mode only. So there is only alert, right? So this means that if there is threat, it's not going to actually remediate it. It's not going to fight against it. It's not going to stop it. It's just going to alert you, hey, I have intelligence reports of alerts or of a hacker attack, but this is just an alert mode. I cannot actually stop it. I will not stop it. Um, will not stop it, and I'm just alerting you. That's it. So your firewall basic will not do anything other than letting you know that there is an attack, right? And the two virtual machines in the background are actually having that firewall deployed, and then uh, if the traffic is more than this, then you have to go for the next version of Azure Firewall, not this version. Right? So basic firewall. Then there is a standard firewall. Right? So firewall standard, premium, and basic firewall. Then there is Azure Firewall Manager. So these are the links for it. If I go here. Now, the basic firewall, we already understand that, okay, it's going to be for 250 Mbps throughput, plus it's only going to alert us. It's not going to actually stop the attack. Suppose there's an attack detected there, it's just going to let us know, and we have to manually then check that what's going on about the attack. But if you want firewall to do something more than alerting you, then you have to go to higher versions and check that what it does. Okay, so the Azure Firewall Standard provides layer 3 to layer 7 filtering and threat intelligence feeds directly from Microsoft Cybersecurity. Okay, layer 3, layer 7. So that is layer 3, layer 7, and to make this open another tab. Okay. So OSI layers, when we talk about OSI layers, then we should understand layer 3, layer 4 in that case. So I'm going to some site there, and there is application layer, human computer interaction layer, where applications can access the network services. Presentation layer ensures that data is in a usable format and is where data encryption occurs. So session layer maintains connections and is responsible for controlling ports and sessions. Transport layer transmits data using transmission protocols, including TCP and UDP. Network layer decides which physical paths that data will take. Data link layer defines the format of data on the network, and then physical layer transmits raw bit stream over the physical medium. So when your data moves from one computer to another computer, so the following layers is something that the processing that happens to that data is represented in layers. It goes from application and then it is prepared, the packet is prepared, and then it's transmitted as 100 bit to another computer. There, when it reaches there, then the physical layer comes first until it reaches. Suppose there's an email, so email is prepared here, application layer, and then it goes through all the preparation. Then it's divided into raw bit stream over the physical medium, and it goes through Ethernet cable, then uh, ISP, and then telecoms, and then ISP, and then in the home computer or office computer, and then inside the computer it goes to the layer until it reaches the email on the other side, application layer, right? So this is layer 3 to layer 7. So this is layer 3 to layer 7, from network layer, transport layer, session layer, application layer, application layer. So that is the protection that is being provided by uh, you know this Azure firewall standard and basic as well. Basic also, basic does not say that. But for standard, yes, it goes for layer 3 to layer 7 filtering and checks that any threat that is available, it could remediate. So suppose on application layer there is a threat, or presentation layer, session layer, transport layer, transmitting data, and somebody's pretending to be the destination but is someone else. The network layer decides which physical path the data will take. So on physical path, if hackers have something for disruption or impersonation and grab the data, so it protects on all these layers there. So Azure Firewall Standard provides L3, L7 filtering and threat intelligence feeds directly from cybersecurity. So if you upgrade to standard, then it would be uh, no intelligence feeds will be coming from Microsoft Cybersecurity. That is, so if we go to cybersecurity, Microsoft Cybersecurity. So what is cybersecurity? So it is cybersecurity is a set of processes, best practices, and technology solutions that help protect your critical systems and network from digital attacks. So as data has proliferated and more people work and connect from anywhere, and actors have responded by developing sophisticated methods for gaining access to your resources and stealing data, sabotaging your business, or extorting money. Every year, the number of attacks increases and adversaries develop new methods of evading. So, the main thing is that your critical systems are protected from digital attacks. So, that's the purpose of cybersecurity. And what kind of attacks? Malware attacks, ransomware, social engineering, phishing, inside threats, advanced persistent threat. So cyber security protects you with the help of firewall uh, from these attacks. These are the type of attacks that cybersecurity. So what are the threats that cybersecurity deals with? I'll just put it up as well as here. Okay. So if we go, um, this is cybersecurity and best practices. Adopt a zero trust security strategy. Conduct regular cybersecurity training. Institute cybersecurity processes. Invest in comprehensive solutions. So overall, yes, it has the tools to really protect our environment to Azure firewall standard, um, and multiple types of attacks are repelled. That the threat intelligence-based filtering can alert, deny traffic from, and do known malicious IP addresses and domains that are updated in real time to protect against new and emerging attacks. So this is also showing, with the help of Microsoft Cybersecurity, whatever information they have about malicious IP addresses and domains which are known for hosting attacks, launching attacks. So those IP addresses and domains are gathered. The information for them is gathered in databases of cybersecurity, and then the firewall just cross-checks that, oh, I'm getting an IP connection request from this IP, suppose 69.28.48. So 3. So it cross-checks with cybersecurity, hey, is this IP address okay, or has it been known for launching attacks on others? So if it's in the database, the IP, and cybersecurity says that, hey, there was an attack launched on another company from that IP, so then firewall simply blocks it. So it just simply cross checks. Firewall simply cross checks with cyber security if a domain from which the traffic is coming or an IP from which the traffic is coming is safe or not. And upgrade so that are very real time. So suppose right now another domain was also detected across somewhere known to have launched attacks. Then the firewall simply has to block it in real time after confirming on cybersecurity. How about this domain? How about this IP? How about this domain? How about this IP? It keeps on doing that. So but if now there are to learn about standard features, then there is that link here. Um, so best in high availability, availability zones, unrestricted and cloud secured scalability, application fully qualified domain and filtering rules, and 16 more. So it does a lot of there's a lot of information about that. It is Azure Firewall standard is managed. This means that Microsoft manages it for us. We just need to deploy it. A cloud-based network security service that protects your Azure virtual network resource. So you have to deploy it inside a VNet, and then it starts doing its work. So the features are built-in high availability zones. So it is deployed on multiple availability zones. If one availability zone is uh, now lost or has an outage, then the other availability zone it is still available. Unrestricted, unrestricted cloud scalability. So it can scale as well. That all of a sudden you have huge amount of traffic, so can give scalability as well. And then application FQD and filtering rules. Filtering just means that checking that what kind of traffic is supposed to be not coming and what kind of traffic is supposed to be coming, and from which application to any other application. Traffic filtering rules, FQD and tags, it keeps on going. Threat intelligence, DNS proxy, custom DNS. It provides a huge amount of services. And then it talks about those services as well. Right? So we're going to be deploying the firewall, and then we're going to check that, and we can come back to these services as well. But these are the features of standard firewall. Okay. So when we go for features of standard firewall, so that's going to be kind of overlapping with the premium. So many of these plus premium will be offering some more features as well. So if we go back to then the premium Azure Premium Firewall provides advanced capabilities, include signature-based IDPS to allow rapid detection of attacks by looking for specific patterns. Uh, so signature-based IDPS. Now, if we go for that IDP or IDPs, maybe uh, we go for strict IDs. IDS is the detection of attacks by looking for specific patterns such as byte sequences in network traffic or known malicious instruction sequences used by malware. The terminology originates from antivirus software, which refers to these detected patterns as signatures. So, how do you describe signature-based IDPS? Signature-based ID systems detect intrusions by observing events and identifying patterns which match the signatures of known attacks. So there are some patterns that are detected, and those patterns are known for attacking. So, what is a pattern anyway? So, suppose we try to check it out here. Now, this is your network, right? So, if you go here, so attack pattern would be that suppose there is another smaller company, and small company has not deployed any you know very good security there, and there are small company and computers, right, in the company, but those computers do not have no latest updates. This means there are some vulnerabilities that hackers found, and they hacked the small company computers, and then they launched an attack from those computers to your company. And uh, then obviously the request is coming from some small network, and suppose they launch an attack to another company as well, and that attack was reported, and then cybersecurity, took that information about that attack and checked out that, oh, okay, so these attacks are coming from this small company. Now, this small company, the poor guys there, they didn't know that their computers are being used to attack other networks. But obviously, these computers will be added to the list of known IP addresses, or this company's DSL or public IP will be added to be known for launching attacks, right? So if there are patterns here, suppose somebody is trying to connect from an unknown company. So this is known, right? Everyone's connecting from a branch, and you have fed and entered those IPs here. So somebody's connecting from a branch, and the firewall has been told that okay, these are the set of public IPs from which if somebody connects, it's okay. These are our guys. But then there's a pattern, and people are connecting there from 9 to 5, right? During weekdays only, weekdays. Then, but the different pattern that comes is that somebody's trying to connect from another set of IP addresses at evenings or weekend. Somebody's trying to connect, and that person uh, has so this request has never come from the IPs that it's showing right now to the firewall, and the timing is also different, right? And maybe if they are forcing there's a huge traffic that is actually requesting access, or the pattern is that the request to connect to the network is coming after each hour. So 1 hour, the request comes, then the request is denied, and after a second hour, half an hour, then again the request came, then again request came, then again request comes. So there's a pattern of some, the action request. There's a pattern there that was not seen by employees who are connecting from a regular branch. So if there's separate patterns that are known for used by the attackers, then Azure Firewall tries to detect that and then repels or deny access to those kind of connection requests as well. So when we talk about patterns, so that's what it is. That it goes for checking what are the patterns of an attack and tries to discover it. And if it's not a regular employee connecting, it will know that somebody else posing as an employee or somebody else as at other times is trying to connect, which is against the pattern of how regular employees are connecting to the company, right? So these patterns can include byte sequences in network traffic or known malicious instruction sequences used by malware. So malware tries to attack with a sequence of attacks, and sometimes brute force attack, and sometimes somebody clicks a link, internal unknown link, and then a backdoor opens to hackers servers. So those kind of malware attacks, it knows the pattern for those and then tries to stop them, stop the connectivity. There are more than 58,000 signatures in over 50 categories that are updated in real time to protect against new and emerging exploits. Exploit categories include malware, phishing, coin mining, and Trojan attacks. So somebody is just mining through by using the compute power of your laptops and virtual machines, and you are paying the bill of somebody else using your CPU and RAM and SSDs power and GPU power. So if somebody is doing that too with coin mining, so wow, that would be somebody's getting rich on your uh, PCs, and you're paying for computers or the virtual machines. You're paying for that heavy usage, right? So somebody can do coin mining on your machines, or so your machines are pretty slow. And malware attack, phishing attack, and Trojan attacks are also happening, and it tries to detect them and repel them. Right? So, what are the features of premium firewall? If we go ahead with that, so there is Azure Firewall Premium features TLS inspection, IDPs again, the threat patterns that it detects, URL filtering. So there are some URLs that are there, um, known URLs or HTTPS colon slash slash something something some domain that is known for uh, attacks on other sites. So web categories, then supported regions, and next step. So Azure Firewall Premium provides advanced threat protection that meets the needs of highly sensitive and regulated environments, such as the payment and healthcare industries. Organizations can use Premium Stock Keeping Unit or SKU features like IDPS and TLS inspection to prevent malware and viruses from spreading across networks in both lateral and horizontal directions. To meet the increase, so the thing is that it just premium stock SKU or premium SKU, as we say, is used to repel, attacks. IDPS, which are just patterns that are detected. So there is that Azure Firewall IDPs or IDPS features over 50 categories that can be assigned to individual signatures. So what kind of attacks that are known are shown here. DOS attacks drop, Shield, exploit kit, FTP attacks, games, hunting. ICMP hunting is this category for signatures that provide indicators that, when matched with other signatures, can be useful for threat hunting in an environment. These rules can provide false positives on legitimate traffic and inhibit performance. They are only recommended for use when actively researching potential threats in an environment. There are 50 known ways to detect attacks and the attacks as well on SQL, Telnet, TFTP, Tor. Tor is a browser through which you connect to dark web, right? And voice over IP related attacks. So it has all this information available, and it runs through that what kind of attack is happening or what kind of patterns are being used that are known, that are already available in databases, that if this pattern happened, they connect from a certain company at certain times and they try different ways. So that attack has been named, right? So it just checks that what kind of pattern is running, and those are already mentioned here as signatures. And through those signatures, firewall detects that, oh, okay, so it's a bot CC attack going on, or it's a bot command and control. This category is for signatures that are auto-generated from several sources of known and confirmed active botnet and other command and control hosts. So botnet, these are just bots or small utility or software that are automatically trying to check for vulnerabilities in your network. So if some bots are connecting to your environment and trying to check if you have not deployed any latest updates for certain vulnerability, then it botnets or bots they go back and mention that to the attacker, that, or brings information to the attacker or hacker that, hey, I've discovered that that particular company's network has some vulnerabilities still available, and you can actually attack and use those vulnerabilities to go and hack in the network, right? So bots are used for that, and then hackers actually create command and control center where all information is fed to them, and then they launch attacks using those vulnerabilities that were discovered by bots. So these kind of these are all types of information that are fed into and called individual signatures, and Azure Firewall checks if any attack is happening and it is exactly like the known ones, then it checks that, oh, okay, so it is coin mining going on, so it is not CCO going on, it's something else going on, DOS attack going on, denial of service, right? Denial of service attack. So it just has the knowledge of known attacks, and it compares suppose there's an attack going on, it has a well as a suspicion that there's an attack going on, then it cross-checks against this database of or information about known attacks to different services of the company. So inspection to prevent malware and viruses from spreading across networks in both lateral and horizontal directions to meet the increased performance demands of IDPs and TLS inspection. Azure Firewall Premium uses a more powerful virtual machine SKU. Like the standard SKU, the premium SKU can seamlessly scale up to 100 Gbps and integrate with availability zones to support the SLA of 99%. So, in the background, when you deploy a Azure Premium Firewall, it deploys on the virtual machines. Those virtual machines are handled by Microsoft. Those virtual machines are on different availability zones, and then if the traffic increases to the firewall, then it can take up to 100 Gbps as well. So premium firewall really takes huge amount of traffic, and it is highly available firewall. It's not like it is on one virtual machine installed in the background and that virtual machine goes down and the premium firewall is not available. So that's not the case. It's just highly available as well. And the service level agreement is 99.99%. And we know that when we go for SLAs and we check the SLAs, so So the SLA is 99.99% is four nines, and four nine means 52 minutes downtime per year, or 4 minutes downtime per month, and 1 minute downtime in a week. So they're saying that the downtime, if something is down, will not remain down for this much time in 1 year. If it remains down more than 52 minutes in 1 year, then they will reimburse some of the charges that have been uh, given. So they will reimburse some of the money that you're giving them a month. Okay. So that is premium firewall. The premium SKU complies with a payment card industry data security standard PCI DSS environment needs. Obviously, the payment card industry where credit cards are being used, and they have certain level of standards of security that needs to be implemented. So those standards are followed by this the firewall premium. So there's that payment card environment needs. If you go there, PCI DSS requirement, install and maintain a firewall configuration to protect cardholder data. This first requirement ensures that service provider. So what are the 12 requirements of PCI DSS compliance? This is a standard for security standard for those companies they have developed where uh, payment cards are being used and financial transactions are going on, right? So install a firewall. This is first. In second, PCI requirement two is do not use vendor supplied defaults for system passwords and other security parameters. So default passwords, do not go for that. Or some vendors have that basic protection parameters. So don't just follow blindly those, because hackers also know that. Protect stored cardholder data, encrypt transmission of cardholder data across open public networks. So they have come up with some standards, and those are some of the main security related precautions that those companies should take which accept credit cards, right? Use and regularly update antivirus software or programs, develop and maintain secure systems and applications, and restrict access to cardholder data by businesses need to know. Just need to know basis, just give data, whatever is needed only, assign a unique ID to each person with computer access. So these are pretty common, you know, uh, rules that needs to be implemented. At least these two should be implemented. That's what the card industry is asking to implement, and those are known as PCI DSS. So Azure Firewall follows, or Premium Firewall follows, the Premium SKU complies with payment card industry data security standard PCI DSS. It just implements all those recommendations. There is TLS inspection and decrypts outbound traffic, processes the data, and encrypts the data and sends it to the destination. So any traffic that is coming here and that is encrypted, so it decrypts the traffic that is outbound traffic. So outbound traffic is from the VNets. The traffic is about to leave the organization. So then TLS inspection happens, which means that the traffic that was moving was encrypted. It opens it up or decrypts it, and then processes the data, checks the data, and then encrypts it back, and then let it go the internet and to its destination or to the branch offices. So IDPS, a network intrusion detection, or ID intrusion detection and prevention system is IDPS, intrusion detection and prevention system. Allows you to monitor network activities from malicious activity, log information about this activity, report it, and optionally attempt to block it. So This IDPS, or intrusion detection and prevention system, IDPS, allows you to monitor network activities. So it's saying URL filtering extends Azure Firewall's fully qualified domain name filtering capability to consider an entire URL along with any additional path. For example, this instead of this. So it's not going to just cross check only the domain, but the full URL. It's going to check that, hey, what's going on with it? And is this page or this subdomain, has any issues or not? So it fully checks the whole URL that is connecting. So web categories, administrators can allow or deny user access to website categories such as gambling websites, social media websites, and others. So it tries to then block activity that is going on, or somebody's trying to go to those websites from your environment. So it tries to block those as well, right? So there are details of what TLS inspection is going on, and the encryption and decryption. You need a certificate for that, and so the main thing is that the data is opened up or decrypted, checked for any kind of attacks, and then encrypted again and sent outside or sent inside. So then it gives great details of TLS encryption and then intrusion detection and prevention system, IDPS, what it does, and it cross checks the categories, right, for IDPS. Then it goes for, so that's a lot of detail for that URL filtering as well, what it does there, and then web categories that needs to be blocked. So those are also blocked. The employees cannot connect to gambling sites and other sites, right? That could pose a threat to your network, company's network. Now, we have talked about the firewall basic features, standard features, and premium features. Let's go to Azure and try to check the firewall functionality there, and see what's going on. So there's the firewall premium features. I'll just add it as a good read. Azure firewall premium. But we can go then to our Azure subscription. That is the and then we go to, oh, actually, this is Microsoft 365. So while keeping it open, I'll go for portal.azure.com. So here, we're, VNets, when we create a virtual network, then Azure Firewall gets created there. But then if I type here firewall, so there are firewalls and then firewall manager, firewall policies, and web application firewall policies, or WAF. That's all written there. So if I go to firewalls here first, so it says cloud native network security to protect your Azure virtual network resources. Obviously, it's just Azure Firewall, and it says create firewall. So if I click that document again, then it takes us to the Azure Firewall. How can you implement that? Threat intelligence based filtering. We already talked about that. Deploy and scale in minutes. Full visibility and protection. Unified management. Centrally manage the firewall. Strengthen your network security posture. Deploy stateful firewall in minutes. Okay, stateful firewall. What is stateful firewall? So that we're exploring all the terminologies around the firewall being used. So Enable turnkey firewall security capabilities in Azure Virtual Network to control and log access to apps and resources. The firewall supports filtering for both inbound and outbound traffic, internal spoke-to-spoke connections, and hybrid connections through Azure VPN and Express Route Gateway. So, stateful and stateless. There are two types that are available. So, if we go to a diagram here, so stateful firewall would be, in fact, we can start with stateless. So stateless connection basically is what needs to be. The first is stateless connections or stateless firewall, and then stateful firewall. So the thing is that a stateless firewall is kind of less secure, and this is the basic firewall, uh, the firewalls that are built into your DSL routers, our DSL routers, and small devices. There are some basic firewall capability. So stateless just means that the connection connection request is checked against the configured firewall rules, and then the connection is allowed or denied. So this is pretty basic, that what the rules you have put there in the firewall, that it checks. Suppose somebody's trying to connect to an environment and the firewall receives that connection request. The firewall checks against some few rules there, that you're allowed this connection type to come to be connected to your devices back here or not. So, but then obviously from comparison, we understand that what am I talking about? So the stateful is that the connection request is thoroughly checked. Uh, uh, its origin is legit and not and it's not a hacker posing as the employee, for example, suppose. So so the connection IP, username info, user info, uh, and connection IP, user info, and how long user is connecting, data is encrypted, connection is encrypted. It checks a long list of stateful in stateful firewall connections. So it checks a long list of things that uh, try and then tries to secure the user from then tries to secure the whole company from any possible attack, right? So stateless firewalls are just basic firewalls that go for basic settings and do not check in detail. The user just connects after going through few rules there, but when it comes to stateful firewall, it goes in greater length too. So the firewall uh, goes through great lengths to identify any possible attack as threat. Um, and or is used, it is used where users are remotely connecting and expected to stay connected to your applications for quite some time. Right? So the user is connecting for 1 hour. User is connected to your applications in your company for 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, or more. So stateful firewall keeps on checking the origin of the user. Suppose the user got disconnected, and then the user is connecting, was connected for 1 hour, and then the connection was idle for long, and user got disconnected. Now, when the user is connecting again, so it will check again that is that the same user who was connected and then got disconnected and is reconnecting right away, or is it a hacker posing or impersonating as that user now? So it tries to cross check everything about the connection. Right? So it's stateful and stateless. Stateless are just simple firewalls that are deployed, for example, in our devices, DSL devices, which does simply very basic checking of the incoming connection. But stateful firewall goes with great length to check uh, about the information of who is connecting and why and for how long. Prevent malware and viruses from spreading. Yeah, firewall tries to do that. And then there is inspect traffic in real time. So yeah, while the traffic is going on, it tries to check that. So okay, we get that. We have read that already. Whatever new terminologies are coming, so I'm trying to explain that as well. We're going to go for just we have just typed the firewall in Azure. Now, obviously, when you create a firewall, you must have some kind of resource to connect it to. So first, we're going to go through this experience, and then we're going to explore all the other firewall related features inside Azure. So if I click the create firewall here, then it goes through. It takes us through a wizard. Azure Firewall is managed cloud-based network security. Whenever the word managed comes here, this means that Microsoft is managing for us cloud-based network security service that protects your virtual network resources. So it is protecting your virtual network. We haven't created a VNet or virtual network yet, right? So it is a fully stateful firewall as a service with built-in high availability and unrestricted cloud scalability. You can centrally create, enforce, and log application and network connectivity policies across subscriptions and virtual networks. So the thing is, um, you can create, you can centrally create this. So you can centrally create, enforce, and log application and network connectivity policies. So you can create application connectivity policies and network connectivity policies across subscriptions and virtual networks. So what policies are there that what suppose this kind of connection is denied, that kind of connection is allowed, this traffic is denied, that traffic is allowed. If HTTP, somebody's connecting from HTTP and not HTTPS, then deny it. So these kind of policies, right? But we're going to explore those policies as well. So cross subscriptions and virtual networks. Azure Firewall uses a static public IP address for your virtual network resources, allowing outside firewalls to identify traffic originating from your network. So when you are deploying a Azure Firewall, it needs to have a public IP. So obviously, other firewalls can connect to it, and whichever traffic is coming from internet should connect to this firewall, should reach this firewall and go through the firewall and then enter your network. Obviously, that's why firewall has to have a public IP for that to be reachable through internet over the internet then. And subscription is this resource group. Seriously, I still have some resource groups here. Then okay, I'll create a duplicate tab here. I will be going to the billing. Then I'll check that what's going on. I How much have I been charged? I'll just check this out while creating a firewall. Let me check out that how much I have been charged because I discovered that there are other um, source groups from previous classes that have been um, created. So, my God, pre-tax total so far, $82. No, okay, virtual machine dev 3 series. Technology is credits applied. So yeah, just be careful what is being used. Maybe I actually forgot to delete a machine, and I don't normally do that. But it's something, or maybe what I've done is whatever I have done, because I'm pretty reckless in labs, I just keep creating, regardless of whatever is the cost and accumulated cost and forecast. Anyway, the forecast is $145, but right now it's $83. And it's virtual machines basically that is costing me, and use is East. So Central has just said 9 cents. So there is something there. So I'm going to cost analysis. Now I'm just gonna go to the resource groups and check out that did I forget to delete the resource group last time? And so there is that just storage account that is on Terra Central that was 9 cents. I go to this RG. Oh man, machines I forgot to delete. Okay, so yeah, that let this be an example for you. What exactly not to do, right? So this is that example that tells us what exactly what to do. Don't forget to delete machines, and I'll be now paying $82. Um, so it's in East US. Last week I left a machine running. Wow, it's been long since I did that. Okay. Anyway, at the end of the class, I think I should put a calendar reminder and put it on my phone as well. Reminder that hey, you delete your machines. Anyway, thank God I saw that. Otherwise, it would have gone for $150 or $200 and $300. Whenever I saw and it's deleted. Anyway, I'll just go ahead now and continue creating a firewall. And I hope I remember to delete that. So I'm just gonna click create and RG resource group and 25 March 2023. I cannot say a food item name because I'm fasting, so I'll be hungry then, or even not say like Ruh Afza or anything else. I mean, seriously, what's wrong with me? Press OK here, and I'm just gonna go ahead with firewall. So I'm just gonna name it something. Okay, so Amir dash firewall one. I'll name it with my name so I would remember that this is what I created. And I'm deploying it on East US. Availability zone is any availability zone is good. So zone one. Remember that there are virtual machines in the background that are being created, and this firewall is installed on top of those virtual machines in the background. So when you're selecting zones for the virtual machines on top of which the firewall will be created and hit. If I go for zone one, zone two, so premium firewall support additional capabilities such as SSL termination and IDPS. Additional cost may apply. So if you go for premium, it's gonna cost you. So I'm just gonna click learn more here. Actually, they did give the pricing here or here. No, they didn't give the, that's why it's weird. Or did not give the pricing on the same page. Firewall premium certificates and deploy, migrate to Azure Firewall Premium. Certificates used by Azure Premium Firewall. So whenever you're encrypting something and decrypting something, so you are using some kind of certificate, security certificate. So to properly configure Azure Firewall Premium TLS inspection, you must provide a valid intermediate CA certificate and deposit it in Azure Key Vault. There are three types of certificates used in a typical deployment. That is a certificate authority. CA is an organization that is trusted to sign digital certificate. So you need to purchase a digital certificate for the firewall that will help you encrypt or decrypt data. Right? But without certificate, also you can deploy a firewall. Um, Server certificate, so intermediate CS certificate, you can just purchase from GoDaddy.com or from any other digicert.com or any other party, right? Root CA, a certificate authority can issue multiple certificates in the form of a tree structure. Server certificate, a certificate associated with a specific domain name. Right? So those are the certificate, and then it shows as well that suppose I'm visiting a website, website.com, connection goes to the Azure Firewall. Then Azure Firewall establishes TLS session with website.com, and then this is step two. This step three is website responds with its TLS certificate. So website says that, oh yes, your user is connecting to my website, so let me provide my certificate that yes, I am okay, like I am secure, and you can connect to me. So here's the security certificate that I'm providing to you, Mr. Firewall. The certificate is generated by Azure Firewall and sent to end user. So Firewall gathers some certificate information from the destination website and then sends it to the user, and the user is able to connect to that website securely. Right? So that's a procedure for letting a user connect to a website securely, and the firewall plays that role, intercepts TLS traffic. So Azure keyword, configure a certificate in your policy, create your own self-signed certificate. So all those certificates can be purchased and added as well. So I'm just going to go for create a firewall here, and I'm choosing premium here. Then it has a lot of options here, but if I go standard, so there are the options change. If I go basic, then the option change again. We're just exploring all the features, so I'm going premium. Firewall management is use a firewall policy to manage this firewall. So I'm going to explore the firewall for PC as well. And that firewall SKU is premium, firewall management is yes policies, firewall policy. Now there is a firewall policy that they're saying, so there are premium policies, standard policies, and basic policies. So obviously we're going for premium policies here. Create new, there is no policy already created, so we're going to be creating new policies here, and we're going to explore, basically to explore the this, like what is the policy doing, how does it look like, how many types are there. So I'm just going to click add new for the firewall policy, and then it says the that just gives some name to the firewall policy. So Amir firewall policy 1, and obviously I'm doing everything in East US. It's premium policy that I want. So we're going to be exploring inside the policy as well. So how does it look like inside? How many policies? What types of policies are there? So we just give a name. When the firewall gets created, it's going to create a premium policy area as well, and we're going to go inside and we're going to then see what policies we can implement. But then it says that, hey, where is the V network, virtual network? to which you want to attach this firewall. We did not create any virtual network. So now we're going to create a VNet as well, to which the firewall will be attached. You could have gone the other way as well, that when you start creating a VNet, then you can select which firewall, premium firewall, standard firewall, or basic firewall needs to be connected. Or you can start creating a firewall and then create a VNet, or start creating a VNet and then able firewall inside as well. So both ways this could have been done. So there's a great new one thing there. So then I will have to give a new network name. So Amir dash VNet dash one, and address space. What do you want to give? So yeah, it's the same 10.0.0.0/16. And we do need a subnet as well. So at least one default subnet needs to be there. /24. Okay. And public IP address, yes, we want the firewall to have public IP, although must have forced learning enabled. So if you have done a VPN connection already, then you don't need a public IP for that firewall. But we didn't create a VPN, so I'm gonna click yes, give us a public IP as well. So public IP one. And it is zone redundant because I did select two zones in which the firewall virtual machines in the background will be created to make it highly available. It is zone redundant as well. Whichever zone your firewall virtual machines are, it's going to, the IP will reach there, will be available from that subnet availability zone as well. Force tunneling is that if you have enabled force tunneling to create an additional subnet for firewall management traffic, this subnet will have a direct access to the internet. It's saying that you want to create another subnet from which the traffic is coming and then connecting to this firewall. So if they have deploy and configure Azure firewall, what we do in public IP address. Naveed says in the chat, yeah, in public IP address, we can just give it a name. Exactly. So when you configure a new Azure firewall, you can route all internet-bound traffic to a designated next hop instead of going directly to the internet. For example, you may have a default route advertised via BGP or border gateway protocol, or using user-defined route (UDR) to force traffic to an on-premises edge firewall or other network virtual appliance (NVA) network virtual appliance to process network traffic before it's passed to the internet. To support this configuration, you must create Azure Firewall and force tunnel configuration enabled. This is mandatory requirement to avoid service disruption. So what it says in English is that you can create. So I'll just go for the diagram here. All right. So I'll go for the other one. So force tunneling is just that. Suppose you have um, already a VNet here, and so that's the VNet one, and inside the VNet you have subnet here, and that subnet has subnet one, suppose. Now that subnet has virtual machines inside, VMs, right? So, and you want to, if you're going for forced tunneling, so that's just simply another subnet that has, all the traffic first entering to like a bastion, and then from that subnet, in fact, I'll be creating, suppose this is a virtual machine subnet already created, and there is, firewall deployed in this subnet. You still create another subnet where so firewall subnet, and then you create another subnet where traffic first comes in, traffic enters here in this subnet, and then it is redirected to the traffic enters here, and then it goes to the firewall, and then from there it goes to the virtual machines in the backend. Insider company virtual machines, right? So you can create extra, uh, subnet as well, where you can just put some connection checking enabled there as well, and then it goes to the firewall policies. Normally, what happens is that this is done directly. That the firewall is a separate subnet here, and the traffic comes here, and it goes to the firewall policy, and then it enters your virtual machine subnet, right? So, but that can be even extended further. That put some uh, security tools here as well, and then go to the firewall policies, and then go further to the network. So the thing is that force tunneling just make enables you. You can configure force tunneling during firewall creation by enabling force tunneling mode as shown to support force tunneling service management traffic. Yeah, yeah. So it says that uh, customers prefer not to expose the public IP address directly to the internet. In this case, you can deploy Azure Firewall in force tunneling mode without a public IP address. Without a public IP address, you can also configure a firewall. This configuration creates management interface with a public IP address that is used by Azure Firewall for its operations. A public IP address is used exclusively by the Azure platform and can be used for any other purpose. The tenant data. So the thing is that you create a VPN connection here, and through that VPN connection, you connect. So there's an interface that gets created in front, but firewall doesn't get the public IP directly. Right now, we gave the firewall public IP directly, so anyone from the internet can directly connect to the firewall. But you can also do that force tunneling where VPN tunnel created, and wherever it's there's an interface that receives that tunnel, that interface can have a public IP, but firewall is still, have privately held or within the VNet it is available, and it receives traffic, but no one can directly to the firewall or connect to the firewall. It connects to the interface, and interface takes that traffic to the firewall. Interface gets the public IP then. If you go for forced tunneling, you must have VPN configured there. So other than that, uh, we have public IP is there. We're not going for forced tunneling. I'm gonna click tags, and yeah, whatever tag you wanna put there, manager name this, branch name this, department this, project this, right? Review plus create. Then I'm just gonna click create. So what we did now is we're just creating a firewall with premium subscription. We created a resource group, a new one, and then selected premium. We gave a policy name as well. We created a VNet as well, and then gave it an address space, and then we created a subnet inside that. We also gave two availability zones. This firewall, and and the IP, public IP we also assigned, which is zone attendant, which is available on both zones, which is zone one and two. Right? So you can see here Amir VNet 1, then there is Azure Firewall subnet will be created as and no. Okay. So I'm just gonna click create here. Now it is getting created here. There's that chat GPT or chat.openai.com/chat. So Azure PowerShell script for creating a new firewall SKU premium um, and public IP and zone multiple availability zones, um, zone 1 and zone 2, and well, that's what we SKU premium, yeah. So let's see, oh, ChatGPT is a PowerShell script for what we just created by click, click, click. And something went wrong if this issue persists. Oh, regenerate response. What's going on here? I did not refresh it or I did not log into it, but I did click the regenerate response. Maybe it will. It is not generating a response. Oh, okay. Let me just copy the search term so I can use it again. Refresh this. So it is connected, and I'll paste that full search string again. Oh, there you go. Source, yeah, source group. I forgot. Dollar location, premium, zone 1, zone 2, description, source group name, location, for location you have to, so dollar zone 1, dollar zone. So that's a variable. You have to put there whatever value you want to put. Man, seriously. I just did with click, click, click. It just gave a script. I can copy here. Wow. Amazing. Okay. So script name I just need to give US here, public IP name. I could give whatever, and SKU is premium. Yep, not standard, not basic. Zone 1, zone 2. Zone 1 is 1, 2 is 2, and then AZ public IP address names. I asked it to create it's a public IP address in Azure. The script above the placeholder will appropriate values. Premium public. Seriously. Um, okay, so what I did was wrong here. Uh, I did give firewall, Azure firewall, also for creating Azure firewalls, but so this script is not creating a firewall. Okay, because there's actual command is new AZ public IP address. Supposed to be new AZ public firewall or something like that, right? That's wrong. Regenerate response. Firewall SKU. Yeah. Yeah, get the virtual network. Get the subnet associate public IP. You must have some kind of note that the above script assumes you already have a virtual network and a subnet created the source code. If not, you will need to create. Where is it creating a firewall? So create new public IP, get the virtual network, get the subnet, associate value IP with the subnet, variables. Really? It doesn't show anywhere if it's creating a firewall. Okay, anyway. So if I just keep on clicking regenerate response, maybe it understands that I'm talking about firewall SKU premium. That's the same thing again. That is able to show. Now it's extending this public IP config. Nah, that is the one. New AZ firewall. Okay, so this was the one. The first three responses were wrong actually. So that's not good. So first three responses of ChatGPT were wrong. The fourth response was correct. New AZ firewall. Okay, so yeah, you have to be very, very careful with the ChatGPT. You must have already some kind of knowledge of PowerShell. And then it's your overall knowledge of the topic as well that you're searching. If you are already knowledgeable, then only you can decide if the script is near to what it's supposed to be. Even if I try that and it doesn't work, then I have to refine it. I have to make some changes. But it seems like what I wanted from the script, create a new firewall with premium SKU, it kind of mentions all that. So yeah, SKU is premium and allocation method static, zone 1, 2. So this seems like it, but obviously it depends on checking. During break, to the recording. Oh yeah, or Chris. Right. So we'll do. No, this is there is a photo that Naveed has shared, and for Naveed it is deployed or deployed. Deployment in progress. Okay, good, good. So you're following. That's cool. And guys, so I was just checking chat dot openai.com/chat, and after fourth regenerated response, it gave the near to the correct script, but obviously this needs to be tested as well. Already in the process of making creating a firewall, but this is what ChatGPT can come up with. I'll just share the whole screenshot that you can really use ChatGPT to get some good answers, but you have to really practice a lot. Um, ChatGPT suggested this PowerShell script for creating an Azure firewall. Okay, and copy code. If I just go for that copy code here, and that if you wanna try as well, then you can put that. In fact, well, I have to just put all this information again, but I have gone through all that. Okay, so the firewall is deployed already. And I'm just gonna click this search where I did search for firewall, and then different services that I clicked was firewall services. So I'm just gonna click that firewall services. It's gonna get me to the console, the dashboard, and yes, there it is deployed. Now I think it under this, yeah, this is the other one. Duplicate. I don't need the Microsoft 365 services. So yes, I had forgot a machine from last week. So 15 days it kept on running, and now I have accumulated $84 on this. So that's not a very good discovery for me now. But yes, with these things we have to be very careful, and otherwise we pay the price. Okay, so Once the firewall is created, I'm just going to go inside the firewall. This is the top firewall or the top SKU or it's the premium one, right? SKU, and then it can be changed. It says change as well. So you can downgrade as well, and you can upgrade as well. So overview is this, and it shows the general information about the firewall and some information here as well. If you go to activity logs, obviously there was no activity done there, so yet. So uh, just one um, looking for analytics. So it's just activity, and then there's operation name. Yes, we created a firewall, so that operation happened uh, in the firewall. Okay. If we go for access control IAM, so yes, you can give anyone else access to manage this firewall by clicking the add button and then adding role assignment, and then you know we've gone through that. But you can click add role assignment, and then you can select, suppose somebody has a contributor role, and make changes in the firewall, and then next, and then select that who should be the user, right? So I'm just going to close that. So that we already have gone through. So tags, you can just add more tags here, branch this, manager this, right? And then there is public IP configuration. So public IP has been given to this firewall, and the IP allotted to our firewall is 20.253.4.158. And there is firewall manager and Azure firewall manager. Create Azure firewall. The firewall manager is just if you have multiple firewalls, then um, you know you can configure and manage this firewall as well. So it says here, visit Azure Firewall Manager to do what? To configure and manage this firewall. So already when I'm going to the firewall one, I'm not able to really manage it. This means so create Azure Firewall policies, define rules for traffic filtering across multiple Azure Firewall instances in secure virtual hubs and hub virtual networks. So it says that, hey, okay, you create a firewall, you attach it to a VNet, but you still have to, you want to make changes, you want to create policy, you have to go to the firewall manager to do that, right? So it says that you can create firewall policies there, and you go for firewall manager, then add security to virtual hubs. So associate an Azure firewall policy or a security partner provider with new or existing virtual hubs to enforce consistent security and routing policies across multiple hubs. It says hubs and security VNets, so virtual networks as well. We'll go to firewall, but just wanted to also talk about virtual hub. Okay, what's the name? So that is firewall, Azure Firewall, premium features. As we go to, okay, so firewall premium features. I wanted to show you another diagram uh, for where the virtual hubs or virtual networks are, how virtual networks are configured. Um, there is that deploy as well here, but if we go back to the firewall here, okay, I had that link open before, but I'll just go back to it. Basic firewall features. Um, so in the basic firewall features, they had shown a map as well. QDN, threat intelligence based filtering, it does that to multiple IP addresses, inbound, SNAT, Azure monitoring. Monitor logs using Azure Firewall workbook. Okay, we need to talk about this. I'm just going to open that separately. But what I wanted to show you was actually the VNets. Okay, I'll go up directly to networking. And there was a hub and spoke networking that I wanted to show you and how and spoke network topology in Azure architecture. So there it is. So that's really a bit more complicated stuff, but it's not that complicated. There's a Visio file that you can download if you have Visio license, then you can download that Visio file from there as well. So Hub and Spoke is, I'm just gonna share that link here. You can open that and you can download the Visio file, which is just showing a diagram for that. But why I'm taking you here to Hub and Spoke, so it does tell you that how the firewalls can be configured in a hub and spoke topology. In what is hub and spoke? So this is how it looks like. I'll make a clear picture of that and quickly go here. Okay, now it's there. Okay. So what's going on here in this picture? That cross premises networking is here, and hub virtual network is this. So hub and spoke are that there is one central hub, and then there are many other kind of branches or many other areas from which people are connecting to this hub. Through this hub, they are going to. So there's something centrally managed, and then spoke are all which are connecting to hub and spoke is like this. So spoke are connected to one central hub. So hub virtual network, it says Azure Virtual Network Manager. When you go to Azure Virtual Network Manager, so hub virtual network, you deployed a firewall here, right, to this hub virtual network, and whoever is trying to connect to this. So suppose there are virtual machines on another virtual network and they connect to this through a gateway, VPN gateway, and through VPN gateway, yeah, there is monitoring going on as well. But basically, they have to go through the firewall. They are connecting through this, but they are going to the firewall, and firewall policies are implemented, and there's production spoke virtual network. So these are all spoke. Hub and spoke just means that there are branches or there are other things that are connecting to a central network. So there are networks that are connecting to a central network, right? So through peering, they are connected. We have done the peering diagram as well, lab as well. So those are connecting there. Then resource subnets are there, connected virtual networks. So there are some more connected virtual networks, VNets, that are there. And then there are hub and spoke, and production. So these are production networks. There are other networks that are also connected here. So they are all connected to this hub. So if I create a red line here, so that's how hub and spoke really works. That one central hub is some sort of central service that is provided to all the connecting networks, right? So this is non-production here, non-production, and these are production, right, and production. So that's how hub and spoke really works. So to a central service, all the VNets connect. So the connecting ones are spoke, and the central service provider VNet is, they're all VNets, but there's a central VNet that is a hub, and all other VNets are spoke. And so production means that where the company critical services are running, and if this service suppose goes down or this virtual machine goes down, company will bear a live business loss, real-time business loss. Non-production is that here you're doing some kind of testing, or it's a replica of the production where you're obviously still testing something, uh, but it's, if you lose any of these are not critical. These are just test machines and test environments, right? If you lose something from production, you're bearing a business loss here directly. And suppose it's offering something to the public, the company through some software. So thousands of end users from the public are connecting to production environment. First connect to production, they never connect to non-production. Production is for us admins to test whatever we want to put in the production for end users. Yeah. Okay, so hub and spoke, because they were referring to hub networks a lot, and that terminology was being used a lot, so that's why I then showed that what is hub and spoke. Right, so I'm just going to go back to this, and that's where virtual hubs. So whichever central VNets are there secures those virtual hubs as well. So I'm going to go to firewall manager here by clicking this option, and it says that so through the firewall's interface blade, then the actual firewall that you created, that blade was open, and then from that blade, these are pages, but Microsoft wants to refer to them as blades. So from this blade, I went to this blade. A firewall manager. Now, firewall manager centrally manages all the firewalls and virtual networks. If we have one VNet here, firewall manager shows us. Then virtual hubs, if we have any hub and spoke topology, that associated virtual hubs or create a new secure virtual hub. And Azure Virtual WAN Hub is a Microsoft managed resource that lets you easily create hub and spoke architectures. When security and routing policies are associated with such a hub, it is referred to as a secure virtual hub. So there is that virtual hub that can be created where other VNets can connect to it. In fact, I'll be going for that application delivery platform. So firewall just simply shows that if you have some application also connecting through the firewall, then you can connect from here. Now, there is that Azure firewall policies that we're going to be exploring now. Security partner providers that we're exploring, and distributed denial of service protection plans. What are their application firewall policies? We're going to explore that too. But let's take a small break, and then we will come back right after these messages. And messages, let's take a break. So Control S. No, we're not. We can take a smaller break or a usual break. Okay, usual break. So break, and that is class starts 7:57, 12:07, 12:17. Resume that, and let's go ahead, and we're talking about the firewall, and firewall is deployed. So we went to firewall first. So if I go to the firewalls area, so there's a firewall deployed here, and then in the firewall there's a firewall manager here. So that's where we need to go to explore the firewall policies. And if I just go for that, go to firewall manager once the Azure firewall is created, and put that up here. And if we go inside firewall manager, then I'll click this, and yeah, one there is we're in the firewall manager, so we're gonna check the firewall policies here, right? And the firewall policies, Azure firewall policies. Once I click that, There is that one firewall policy got created. If I go inside this policy here, then there is just an overview and activity log, but then at the settings level, so there is parent firewall policy. Your policy will inherit rules and other settings from the selected parent policy. Inherited rules are evaluated. So if you select some policy here, so you have to create some policy and then it will appear here, right? So if I go back and create Azure firewall policy, although the policy should be showing here message manage associations. If I go here, it's associated with the VNet. It can be associated with the hub, but it's connected with the VNet. So VNet one VNet it is already associated with. If I just still go inside this and rule collection. So first is parent policy. We don't have a parent policy. This is the only policy we have right now. If we go to rule collection, rule collections are sets of rules of the same type, DNAT, and network or application rules. Rule collection groups can include rule collections of various types. So, what is a rule collection? If we click the add, there's a rule collection group and there's a real rule collection. I'm going to go for rule collection first. And then it just says that what kind of rule collection. So if I go for armor dash rule collection dash one, and its rule type is network, but what kind of rule is it related to? Rules are so yeah, we're gonna discover or you know we're gonna explore that. But is it for the network the rule is, or if I change to the application? So you can see the only information here is this, or what we need to configure in the rule collection is this. For application, if I go for DNAT, NAT is network access protocol, network address. What a basic thing. NAT, it just gives you internet connection, and direct NAT just gives you, internet to your virtual machines that have private IP addresses. So, but I'm going to go for network because we have connected this firewall to VNet. I've connected this. I've put this there. So, allowed numeric values between 165. So it's just priority. Suppose you give 100 here, then you create another rule and give that 100 101. So the priority 100 will be implemented first, and 101 will be the second one, right? So just give some kind of priority there. Rule is allowed or die. So it is allowed, and default network rule collection group. What do you exactly do here in the rule collection? Is just give a name and suppose it's well, suppose allow from branch, allow from branch. Suppose you go so, and then source IP. Then you can give IP address or IP group. You can give as well. So IP address is suppose I want to go for my temporary IP here. That is what is my IP, or what is my DSL router IP right now, which will change very soon. And it keeps on changing for residential DSL connections or internet connections. We know that already. So suppose we go for that from this you want to connect, and the protocol, what kind of protocol you want confirmed traffic to be there. You just want pinging to be allowed there, or any kind of traffic. You go any, then pretty much everything is selected. Otherwise, go for TCP traffic, and that just makes sure that the traffic reaches or the data reaches on the other side, and from that destination ports, what kind of traffic you want. Is it port 80 or 443 or any other? So suppose we go for port 80 you want to go for from one range of port to another range of port, you can then put dash here between that. And to put another port as well, so suppose I say that 443 as well, also 1433 as well. So 443 is for HTTPS, 80 for HTTP, and 1433 for database. And you can keep on getting 3389 for RDP connection, remote desktop connection. And then destination IP. So where is it going? Where is the traffic really going? So then you go for you just put that IP of either a bastion host or interface or a firewall. Uh, Now I'm just gonna make a duplicate of this and check that what is the IP given to this firewall, or maybe there's a virtual machine inside behind this firewall inside that VNet, and that virtual machine has a public IP, right? So then you can give that IP here. Then it will be a rule. So for now, I'm just going to click duplicate tab here. So from internet, from my public IP or my home public IP, how where it is. So source is that it's coming from my home, the traffic, but where's the destination? So if I go to the firewall itself, we created a firewall, right? So I'm going to go to the firewall services from the search, and then go to the firewall, and then there's the public IP that this firewall received, right? So, uh, well, we are supposed to give the destination IP. So, what we are doing right now is that firewall or the rule collection is asking that, okay, this is from home or branch public IP, branch public IP, and from there we are it's asking in a rule collection, right? So it's asking in the rule collection, the source IP, type of traffic, and destination IP, right? So pretty straightforward information it is asking, and that we are putting here. So we are supposed to, so there's a firewall here, and there's a rule collection going on there. But we're giving the firewall IP here. There's a PIP or public IP here as well, public IP. But the thing is that it's going to be the VNet. So firewall is connected to a VNet, right? And the VNet is supposed to have some kind of virtual machine that also has a PIP, so public IP. So in the rule collection, you can actually put this IP there, but we don't have a virtual machine inside with public IP, so that's why we're giving some kind of IP just to understand how the rule collection can be configured. So we're giving this IP while we're supposed to give this IP. So instead of, suppose you have that kind of environment, then instead of the firewall IP, you're supposed to actually give IP of the destination. So from here, I'm connecting to the firewall, and the rule collection says that once my connection is checked by the firewall, and suppose it's port 80 traffic, or just I'm connecting remotely to this machine through the firewall, so 3389 port will be used. So let that machine connect. Let my connection request connect to the virtual machine with the port 3389. Firewall will check the rule collection where I mentioned 3389 port, which is remote desktop port. Suppose I have database traffic, so 1433. Suppose I have HTTP and HTTPS traffic. So all that firewall will allow because of the rule collection here, and that all type of traffic from here to here will be allowed. So this is what we are doing here, or what the rule collection can be used for. I'm just putting some IP there. So if I go back to that rule collection, I need some IP to be put there. I'm just putting that. So that's how a rule collection will look like. If I click add here, so it's adding rule collection. And so if I click somewhere else and then click here, now there's a rule collection created here inside this firewall policy. So the rule collection is for network, but there are network rules. If I go to network rules, this is priority 100. If I create another rule that connect from that source to this destination and give it priority 101. So first this rule will be applied, then 101, then whatever the higher number is, it will go to that. So lower the number, higher the priority. Application rules, DNAT rules are pretty much the same. Add a rule collection. So suppose I go for application rule, and suppose you have an application in the on the other side. So it then asks for this information. There is a TLS inspection. Do you want to allow TLS inspection, which means that decrypt the traffic, check the data, and then encrypt it, and then let it go to the application fully qualified domain name, which is on the destination, whichever site, qualified domain name, the whole site name for the DNS name for the application can be placed here as well. Suppose SQL Server you want to connect, so SQL Server full name can be shown here. So we get the idea that okay, so a rule collection can be configured inside the firewall as well. Then there is DNS here, and if there is no parent policy, associated settings entered here will be activated once applied. If there is a parent policy, so DNS settings will be applied on this policy, or this feature will not be enabled on Azure firewall policy. So suppose I go for DNS that by name you want to connect to an application or virtual machine inside your VNet. So you want to enable DNS configuration as well. This means that whatever name you put, so it will be resolved by DNS, and then so DNS you would use when there's huge amount of traffic coming here, thousands of users are trying to connect, and then you will go for DNS, enable the DNS there, right? If there, then there is threat intelligence inside a firewall policy. The threat intelligence based filtering can be enabled for your firewall to alert and block traffic to from known malicious IP addresses. So it says here, threat intelligence mode. Alert only, you will receive high confidence alerts for traffic going through your firewall or from known malicious IP address and domain. So you will receive high confidence alerts. You'll be alerted, and you will be left with the decision what you want to do with it. Alert and deny. So traffic will be blocked actually if the alert comes, and you will receive high confidence alerts when traffic attempting to go through your firewall to or from known malicious IP addresses and domains is detected. So high confidence is the word here. If Microsoft is highly confident that this alert is a legit alert, it's not your critical business traffic, but it is actually it is somebody impersonating as your business partner, and this is the thing that needs to be configured if you want to deny. So suppose if you choose this alert and deny, this means that you're trusting Microsoft. Hey, Microsoft, I trust you. If you see that somebody is actually trying to attack and you're highly confident about that alert, then you are allowed to this firewall. I allow this firewall to deny that traffic as well. If the alert is highly confident, you're highly confident about this alert that highly confident that this alert is legit, right? Allow list addresses. Threat intelligence will not filter traffic to any of the IP addresses, ranges, and subnets you want. So there is a allow list as well, that if the traffic is coming from this, suppose you add the IP of your branch, so it will not go through the intelligence for the traffic coming from the IPs added here. fully qualified domain names. So whatever allow list you put there, whatever website names or server names, SQL Server dot Microsoft.com. Suppose you put there. So suppose it's your company's SQL Server, and you know that this is lit traffic. This is not a hacker traffic. So you will have to put allow for your branch and wherever you expect traffic from. You need to put those IP addresses and domain names there, right? When you go for deny as well. If you just go for alert only, it's like, yeah, you don't need to really go for adding all the allow list, but it's better to still fill up the allow list of, suppose you have three branches, so public IP addresses of those three branches you can put here. Okay, so then there is TLS inspection. And TLS inspection, so I'm not gonna make any changes here. And so here, if you enable the TLS inspection, we understand already that TLS inspection will be used with IDPs, IDPS, and which is intrusion detection and prevention system. So not only that it will detect the intrusion, it will also prevent the intrusion as and well it's going to prevent it as well. So IDPS and applicable application rules. So TLS inspection is a premium feature that will not function on standard tier firewalls. So it's a premium feature already. Select the keyword where your CA certificate and private key are stored, or auto generate new certificate by selecting new managed identity. So this means that select a managed identity, and I'm going for new managed identity, which means that create a certificate from our side. You don't need to purchase from then GoDaddy.com or any other um, CA or certificate authority that distributes certificates, and you can purchase certificates in $100, $80, up to $2,000. Depends on the level of security you want. So this certificate, new certificate, it's still loading. So it's saying that, hey, where's the key vault? Because we didn't create the key vault, and I did show you how to create a key vault before as well. So this is what it wants. But then after that, key vault is given and the new certificate, self-signed certificate is created. Then TLS automatically starts working and starts doing identity, intrusion detection and prevention system. It starts doing that intrusion detection and prevention system. Right? So not only will that it will detect intrusion, it will prevent it as well. Right? So this is just needs to be turned on after creating a key vault. And then IDPS itself. So if I just press OK here, so it's if IDPS is enabled on a parent policy, you can. So it's just saying that do you want to enable the intrusion detection and prevention system alert and deny rule here as well? Also, so these work together. TLS inspection basically does when the data comes, it just decrypts the data, checks the traffic, and encrypts it back. IDPS is actually the intrusion detection and prevention, which means that if there is some intruder who's trying or hacker trying to hack your environment, then it will detect it and prevent it as well. So if I click learn more here for IDPS, firewall premium features, well, it just takes that. So IDPS network intrusion detection and prevention system allows you to monitor your network for malicious activity, log information about this activity, report it, and optionally attempt to block it. So if the intrusion is detected, it will be blocked. Azure Firewall signature rule sets include. So it says here, Azure Firewall Premium provides signature-based IDPS for rapid detection of attacks by looking for specific patterns such as byte sequences, network traffic, or known malicious intrusion sequences used by malware. So suppose the malware, there's some malicious link that some employee clicks and that's it. Malware is unleashed. So those patterns it detects, those type of patterns. The IDPS signatures are applicable for both application and network level traffic. Layer 3 to 7, they are fully managed and continuously updated. So Microsoft takes responsibility of updating pretty much everything here. IDPS can be applied in to inbound traffic, spoke to spoke, east to west, VNets in the east region and VNet in the west region. Traffic is going between the two regions. Then it runs its intrusion detection and prevention system. Outbound traffic as well. So inbound traffic, outbound traffic, and between two networks, between two region traffic. Spoke to spoke east west includes traffic that goes from/to an on-premises network. So east west, from here they mean that when it's spoke to spoke, it's from your Azure to your on-premises branch traffic. It also detects IDPS or intrusion detection and prevention system. You can configure your IDPS private IP address ranges using the private IP ranges preview. If you want to go for VPN connectivity, you can just put private IP addresses to IDPS. An emphasis on fingerprinting actual malware, command and control, exploit kits, and in the wild malicious activity missed by traditional prevention methods. So Azure firewall signatures rule sets include. So by traditional methods, if your other security devices are not able to detect an attack that is happening, then firewall signatures and rule sets slash rule sets, includes that kind of discovering of an attack happening. So these are advanced tools from Microsoft that are able to detect with a high percentage an attack that is going on happening on environments, right? So normal or mainstream devices, whichever are not able to detect, Microsoft claims that their firewall can detect those kind of advanced level attacks as well. Over 58,000 rules in over 50 categories. The categories include malware, command and control, phishing, trojans, botnets. I showed you already that there are 58,000 rules there, and each rule is talking about certain type of attack and how it is happening, certain type of pattern for an attack. What kind of deny rule is there for that? What are the rules to stop that kind of attack? So 20 to 40 plus new rules are released each day. So when they discover, oh, there's another method to hack, they then create remediation for that, and then they add it to that rules list. So then there are newer ways are detected each day, and newer solutions for that to prevent that attack are also added there each day. So premium features really are very cool, and all new types of attacks are, information is added here, so people can prevent that attack. Low false positive rating by using state-of-the-art malware detection techniques such as global sensor network feedback loop. So false positive is low. False positive that suppose the firewall says, hey, I am positive that this is a hacker attack, while it is actually your legit business email, but but the security devices think that it's not your company's legit email, it's actually an attacker or email that has been tampered with. So false positive just means that it was actually a real email or business email, but it was thought by the security tools as a hacker attack. Right? So a low amount of false positive that sometimes firewall think that a legit email is actually a hacker email, and then they block it, which causes business loss to the company. So if more false positives are there, then they will lose a lot of actual real business email, they won't be able to connect to that, and then they will incur a lot of business losses. So false positives have to be very low. DPS allows you to detect attacks in all ports and protocols for non-encrypted traffic. And so it just says that it just checks all the HTTP, HTTPS traffics, and TLS inspection goes on. And it can go for private ranges as well. For IDPS, you can give private ranges. Uh, if traffic is inbound or outbound, by default, only range is defined. So, yep, it just says that you can add private traffic as well. So, this is what we were talking about here at IDPS. Then there's signature rules here. And what kind of signature rules? There are 68,264 items here. Okay. So, rule board, a network Trojan was detected or attempted user privilege gain. If we go there, so it detects the 68,000 types of potential corporate privacy violation, and then description. All these kinds of attacks related information is there. So this is page one. There are 3,414 pages of information of the types of attacks that can happen, and it has the that quality to detect all these types of attacks, not only detect but then prevent it as well. Yeah, it says in the chat. Wow, huge. Yeah, so that's, and they're adding 3 or 4 rules daily. That's what they're saying. So that's pretty huge. Show 20 items, show 200 items. If we go over that, then it will keep on going and show you 200 items per page and all types of attacks that are possible. So it's a pretty huge list, definitely. And it comes with the premium firewall. Uh, and signature rules are added daily. So newer attacks related information is also added daily. So private IP addresses ranges are used to identify if traffic is inbound or outbound. Default only ranges defined by IANA RFC 1918 are considered private IP addresses. To modify your private IP address, is edit, remove, or add ranges as needed. So, yeah, the thing is that it just so which private IP network the traffic originated from, and what is the traffic, what is the private IP network the destination network has. So it just needs to know this information is there, so it needs to know that where is the traffic coming from, and obviously when we send a traffic or an email from our vessel from home, so obviously it is still originating from a private IP, and then it goes to the ISP provided public IP, and then goes over the internet, right? And then there's a bypass list that you don't want IDPS to go through. You can just put that bypass list here that if the traffic is coming originating from this IP and going to this IP, then please don't run your intrusion detection and prevention system here, right? So you can bypass as well. Allow list. There's an secured, some are not making changes here, secured virtual hubs. So secured virtual hubs are virtual hubs that are having IDPS attached or firewall attached to it, and they are connected with different VNets there, right? So if I go here and firewall, so when we were creating this, it was asking, all right, let me go there. So I'll just go to the search, type virtual hub or just hub. I just go for hub. Well, that is uh, to many types of hubs, IoT hub, event hub. So virtual hub would be in the virtual networks, virtual clusters, and then virtual network gateways, virtual appointments builder, virtual network managers, virtual WANs. WAN would be just you're connecting to some on-premises branch here. But if I go for virtual hub here, then when we are creating virtual networks, so one virtual network was created here, right? Uh, and then there are, this is a way you can create a virtual network or VNet, right? And we've been creating those networks as well. But when you want to create a hub and spoke, then you go for that. So hub and spoke is either a feature was there. Hub and spoke is an architecture name basically, but I'm just discovering that or trying to check that if hub and spoke topology also is create a hub and spoke hybrid network topology here. Suppose we go there. So with automation services, you can create a full hub and spoke topology, which means that Terraform is one of the third-party tools that has scripts that automates creation. Or suppose you want to create uh, 5 VNets with 20 subnets each, and maybe 10 virtual machines in each subnet and each VNet. Then you can go for a third party. The Terraform related jobs are there, and Terraform is something that we should, um, we should be going through that and try to learn the scripts. It just simply automates creation of bigger environments. So as I was saying, I'm gonna click back here. So the how to use Terraform to implement in Azure Hub and Spoke network topology. So it just says that if you want to create bigger environment, then you can create Hub and Spoke topology is a way to isolate workloads while sharing common services. These services include identity and security. The hub is a virtual network VNet that acts as a central connection point. You create a VNet that acts as a central connection point to an on-premises network. You have, suppose, Toronto branch and New York branch, and you create a VNet, and from Toronto branch, people connect to the VNet. From New York branch, people connect to the VNet. So that VNet will be then considered as a hub VNet. Spokes are VNets that pair with the hub. So, we were creating a peer connection. So peering, VNet peering we did in the lab. So suppose you have, you know, a VNet here. Well, I'm considering this as a VNet. So VNet 1, and then we have other VNets here, VNet 2, VNet 3, VNet 4. But now you create the VNets exactly the same way as any VNet is created, right? But the thing is that VNet 2, VNet 3, VNet 4. So, but the thing is that every other VNet is just peering only to this one VNet. So this means that if you put their firewall here, so firewall, all the VNets are connected to that. So you know what? I should take this diagram to a bigger area. Yeah. So this means that whatever branch connections are here. So suppose this is Toronto branch, right? And from there they connect to the firewall, and from the firewall. So this VNet, which is just simply created as a VNet, then you connected all the other VNets to the central VNet. So this would be the hub VNet, and those would be the spoke VNets here, right? So that would be considered as hub and spoke. But otherwise, there is no service called hub that you click, and create that. If that centrally considered VNet is secured with firewall, so that would be called a secure hub and spoke. So this VNet is secure because it is attached with a firewall here. Okay? So that's what is there's a saying that if you want to create the whole environment that has the following configurations done there with a script, so they provide a script that is written in Terraform. The good thing about Terraform is, well, it is a third party and it has its own way of coding, but the Terraform is supported by this PowerShell as well. That's pretty cool. Uh, and Terraform scripts are, you should be working on automation. So maybe you can create a task for yourself that with Terraform, how to create in Azure, how to create VNet and subnet with Terraform, right? So if I just put that to our best friend here, which is ChatGPT. Okay, session is expired. I have to log in now. Why don't I log in with account? And then I'll put that, show me a script, Terraform script that works on Azure that creates just a VNet with a subnet. Okay? So that's what it's saying. Provider is Azure RM, and then it goes for resource group and Azure RM virtual network. Example this. And in this example, we have created a VNet with the address. So resource, Azure RM surname. Define your subnet here as well. It didn't give the full script. So yeah, you know how to play. I've been playing with it for, I've been showing you that as well, that you want to get the correct script. You need to be having certain knowledge before that as well, because ChatGPT cannot be always right. So you have to be very careful when you are using ChatGPT. And with your experience, you can decide that did it give the correct information or not. Okay? It says that save the file and run Terraform in it to initialize the provider and download the required modules. Run Terraform plan to preview the changes that will be made. Terraform apply to create the VNet. Anyway, so basic idea, if you go for Terraform for beginners, there are so many YouTube videos there that shows that, and then you can quickly tell ChatGPT, hey, can you give me a script that creates, both with very small things, right? Uh, Naveed says otherwise, yeah, Google will work as well. Definitely will work. It filters even more, but Google gives you the full articles. That's very good as well. Definitely. If you want to save time and you have a lot of basic understanding of Terraform, yes, then you can go to ChatGPT and then you can decide for yourself which one you should choose. Otherwise, better Google it to go for the whole article and get a basic understanding of how the Terraform works, and then come to ChatGPT when we have certain experience with the technology, the Terraform. Okay, so here we were talking about virtual hubs, and then I just explained that how to create a virtual hub is it's just simply a couple of VNets. But one VNet, every VNet is connecting to will be considered by us as a hub, and the others will be considered as spoke VNets. Okay? So that's hub and spoke. So this policy doesn't apply to any security hubs yet. So yeah, we didn't create any kind of security hubs. We go for secured virtual networks. So there is that one VNet through which the firewall is attached. So that is considering as secure virtual network. Obviously, when you attach a firewall, then you're paying for the firewall as well. And when you're paying for the firewall, that is the only VNet then you will deploy the firewall in. It's not like you don't have to then deploy firewall here, 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 right? Because if you do deploy here as well, then you are paying for that firewall activity here, here, and here. When you have deployed already firewall in the VNet and all the policies have been deployed here, just pay for this firewall, the premium one, and then it goes through all the 65,000 rules or signatures or the types of attacks that it's going to detect that in real time it will check that, okay, this connection, is it legit connection or is it one of these types of attacks that pretend that it's a legit connection but it's actually attack. So it checks all that against all the 65,000 types of signatures, right, or rule sets there. So this is pretty cool. You just deploy firewall on one VNet, consider it as a hub VNet, and then all others VNet would be spoke, but you then don't have to deploy that firewall on every other VNet. That saves you cost, but and that makes sense as well. Firewall should be in one place, and the traffic once going through this firewall, yes, then can be separately. Then it's secure if it has gone through this firewall and everything is okay. No alarms were, no alerts were created by a firewall. Then it's okay to go to any of those VNets with no firewall. Although they have then their security groups, NSGs, right? NSG is also another security level. Then there is OS level firewall as well, right? And then there is Defender that is also doing its job separately, which has anti-malware and anti-virus. So you still have, other than firewall, you have lots of other security tools. Still keep on looking for any kind of attacks. Naveed says in the chat, so if we put the firewall on the hub spoke, will be covered by that firewall. Yeah, so if we so hub spoke will be covered by that firewall if you attach the firewall, and it shows here as well. If we go that it says that secured virtual networks is this. So now, obviously, what I would do in a production environment is that I would just start creating. So if I go to VNet, so there's one VNet, right? But this VNet has a firewall. So then you start creating our suppose VNet 2, VNet 3, VNet 4, VNet 5. But all VNets only have peering connection to VNet 1. So direct traffic from internet do not come to VNet 2, VNet 3, VNet 4. The direct traffic has to come from VNet 1 through the peering connection to VNet 2, through the peering connection to VNet 3, peering connection to VNet 4, right? So exactly as this diagram, that all the traffic has to come through VNet 1 now. So you will be telling suppose there are multiple branches here, and there are so many users that are trying to connect or will be connecting. So you just simply give them the public IP of this firewall, basically. And all other machines here, you don't give public IP, you give them private IPs. And so VNets have subnets. Maybe there are 10 subnets here, maybe there are 5 subnets here, and maybe there are 20 subnets here. And but they have to the whole outside traffic has to go through this firewall. And then because there's a peering connection, so yeah, I should be putting here that peering connection. Right, so peering connection. Through that peering connection, the traffic then can securely connect the other VNets as well. This will be considered as a hub. We will be creating just more VNets, and it's pretty normal stuff. Other than that, private IP ranges, so secure NAT or network address translation. So when your virtual machines have private IPs and they still need internet, then this is deployed, and this is secure NAT, Azure firewall, default SNAT behavior. So for all IP addresses except IANA, RFC, private IP addresses. So SNAT is just there if you have virtual machines with private IP addresses in the VNet. Web categories. So that is just you can search for an FQDN or URL to see if the site is listed and under which categories and application rules. Premium firewalls can utilize full URLs, but standard firewalls are limited to FQDN filtering. If you have reported an incorrect classification, you can enter. So here, search for an FQDN URL or token ID. Suppose you have added a lot of sites here, and you can search from those sites here. Just create categories of the sites that what websites are secure. So if I go to learn more here, it says web categories lets administrators allow or deny user access to website categories such as gambling websites, social media websites, others. Web categories are also included in Azure Firewall Standard, but it's more fine-tuned in Azure Firewall Premium as opposed. So they would go for all known databases of gambling websites and social media websites and others, and you want any traffic coming from there to your company's virtual machines, you need to filter them or block them. That any traffic coming from Facebook or Insta or anything, any Instagram link has been shared with the employee, and that employee clicks it, do not open that, and just block that link. Right? So all those categories can be searched as well. But basically, in the background, they are added. Suppose I go for Facebook, I don't think it's gonna check that here because you have to be adding some of the things. So this is uncategorized, it says. Fully qualified domain name. And suppose I go for facebook.com, and so it's a social networking site. So categories is so it's you can cross check that. Uh, is social networking is added as a category by Microsoft. So which site? Suppose there's a company, there's a site of you're doing a business with some company, and that company's site name is abc.com. So is it in that blocked categories or categories that will be filtered out or not? So you can check it from here. And then there is properties. That's just firewall properties here. Lock, we already know that you don't want anything to be modified or deleted. You go for lock here. Policy analytics, so it's just in preview, it's still not available, but it gives you an analysis of how many rules are created, are they successful, how many successful catches they had, all kind of that information. Then there is tasks, which is also in preview, so it's not commercially available. You want to automate some of the tasks here internally as well. Um, so now there is that this was just one firewall that was deployed, but if we go back here, so there are Azure firewall policies that we saw, and then the 65,000 types of attacks related information that the firewall policy has. If we want to go for create an Azure firewall policy, so it goes for, oh, you want to have a standard policy or standard firewall or basic firewall, you can just deploy another firewall, but through firewall manager, you can deploy different firewalls connected to different VNets, and then you can enable protection there. So you can create more firewall policies, but you have to connect with some VNet. So this one firewall policy can also connect to many VNets there. If you have multiple VNets, then you can connect it. So suppose I go for manage associations here. So this is associate hubs actually written here, right? When we go to hub, so it says the selected hubs will be converted to select secured virtual hubs. So grayed out hubs might be um, here. Uh, be in failed state and needs to be recovered. So it does recognize the hub there, but it is supposed to be actually a service or secure hubs. But the hub name is actually not showing here. So let me just check that. Normally it is just the um, hub that is. So if I go for secure hub, it's not name as a service. So what happens is that um, you're when you're creating, excuse me, if, I haven't eaten anything and still, something up. So the virtual networks here, if I go to, so there are hubs you can create within the virtual network. Is hub is not a firewall related feature, but if hub is there, then firewall can add it here, right? So there is network connections. Maybe it's talking about virtual WANs. So if I go for network managers here, I will just check that Azure Virtual Network Manager enables you to define and apply connectivity and security configurations for your virtual networks across subscriptions and management groups. So if I go for network manager, suppose you have 20 VNets and your VNets are across different accounts as well. This is one account with a credit card. You may have another account with a credit card, right? So you want to centrally manage all the VNets, then you go for network manager. What I'm here for is to check if the hub can be um, an option here that, oh, you want to consider it as a hub or not. If I go to the VNet itself, excuse me, VNet. So although we explored all the options here, but can this VNet be considered as a hub VNet? They've added that feature recently, then yes, we can explore that. Otherwise, it was not there that we can consider this VNet as a hub. So yeah, I will. Hey, how about if we ask ChatGPT how to create Azure? Because firewall is using this terminology a lot, and so hub VNet. That's why I'm just looking for that. Search. Create an Azure Virtual Network Hub. You can create Azure Virtual WAN. Okay, so it is connected to Virtual WAN. The Virtual WAN provides a hub and spoke architecture that allows you to connect multiple VNets and branch locations to a central hub. And then it gives that PowerShell, although I didn't ask for PowerShell. Provide Azure RM. Virtual WAN is what? So ChatGPT is like a guy, a person talking to you, right? If I go to virtual WAN and then here and then create a virtual WAN to get started. Next, create sites in your virtual WAN and connect them to virtual hubs in your preferred Azure regions within your virtual WAN. So since firewall is talking about a lot about this, so I'm just going to click the create virtual WAN. And the virtual WAN resource represents a virtual overlay of your Azure network and is a collection of multiple resources. So it's just collection of different, so this is 25 March today, different VNets. So if I go to East US here, and name is honor dash virtual WAN standard and basic. So I'll stick to standard. Standard virtual WAN support connectivity between site-to-site VPN endpoints, VNets, express route endpoints, and point-to-site users with optional connectivity across hubs in the same virtual WAN, express route to express route. So yeah, whatever VPN and VNet to VNet, branch to VNet connectivity you want to manage, and you can create virtual WAN for that. I'm just gonna go for review as create, and then click the create button, and now it is getting created. So I went for just virtual WAN and simply click create, and then next finish, right? So deployment in progress. So, mhm. So it's created, and I'm gonna go to the search and then go to the virtual WAN. So this is the console for that. I'll just click the virtual WAN here, and I will go for virtual network connections. Or first, I will go to hubs. So yes, there you go. Hubs is there inside the virtual WAN. I go for new hub here. Then a virtual hub is a Microsoft managed virtual network. The hub contains various service endpoints to enable connectivity from your on-premises network VPN site. So we don't have on-premises yet, but we do have a VNet that if it wants to connect to. So I'll go for East US here, and I'll go for Armor Dash Virtual Hub, Armor Dash Virtual Hub, and Virtual Hub space. So I'll just give that 10.0.0.0.516, and Virtual Hub capacity. So what can it take? Two routing infrastructure units, 3 Gbps router supports 2,000 VMs, 3,000 VMs, 15,000 VMs, up to 50,000 VMs, 50 routing infrastructure units, 50 Gbps router supports 50,000. So if I go for the least one, which is 2,000 VMs, now hub routing preference. And so is it through VPN you're connecting to your on-premises branch, or through Express route you're connecting through on-premises branch, or as path? So both these we don't have, VPN Express route. But as path, if I go, so preference is used in selecting best path when the virtual hub learns multiple paths to the same destination route prefix. So as path just means that it will try to learn that what is the path to whatever destination we are giving. Then there's a site-to-site connection. We don't have a You will need to enable site-to-site VPN gateway before connecting to VPN sites. You can do this after hub creation, but doing it now will save time and reduce the risk of service interruptions. We don't have two sites, site-to-site VPN here. If we go ahead, point-to-site, we had done that lab before. So we had a point-to-site VPN, user VPN gateway. So with that lab, you can connect this virtual hub. Uh, and then Express route, this is pretty expensive dugout line. Not dugout, but it's pretty expensive dedicated circuit given to you with huge bandwidth. So we don't have that too. So tags, but yes, we could have added point to site VPN if we had that. We did a long lab on point to site VPN before, but this is how virtual hub is created within the virtual WAN. It is expecting some extra connectivity there from on premises, especially that you have either site to site with it is from your VNet to a branch, or point to site is one user connecting to your branch, or an express route, which is fast connection from your on premises to this. So virtual hub is there, but not exactly what we can use here. I mean, like in our lab, we don't have the other point to site and VPN. That's what I'm saying. But once virtual hub is created here, then firewall should be okay in detecting. So there's that virtual hub. Now you can see that the virtual hub is created. But what is then essentially happening here, that when you deploy virtual hub, we can go with hub and spoke manually as well. When you're deploying virtual hub here, and suppose there's that virtual hub. So that virtual hub expects that you have connectivity from you know, on premises first of all. So connecting to on premises. So on dash premises, and then you can add here branch. So that is also called site. Obviously, your other site would be your Azure site, and then there is uh, point to site. So user connecting via VPN. So that is point to site again on premises, and then the third thing would be your express route, and that is also from branch or dedicated line connecting to nearest Azure data center. Okay? Data center. So that would be your for that virtual hub is used, but if it's totally online resources, then we still go for the hub and spoke that we talked about here. Okay, so it just says that first of all we need to check that it is deployed or not, and it is still deploying. Just deploying these big things, I would like to then check that how much it is costing me, but yeah, I got a big dose of when we are not careful. I got charged $82 for getting a machine for 15 days. So that's a shocking thing. Anyway, it's deleted, and yeah, we'll be paying that. But this virtual hub deployment progress. Uh, Once this virtual hub is deployed, what we can do, it did detect the hub, and it just says, "Hey, do you want to connect a firewall to this or not?" So, okay, so Naveed says in the chat, I saw a pop-up message when it was creating. Will take the will take 30 minutes. Okay. Oh, it's done for. That was different. This is okay. Okay, so it will take 30 minutes. Okay. It didn't take for me 30 minutes, but yeah. So it can take up to 30 minutes, right? So that is one thing. It is created now. If I go back here and kind of refresh that, so refresh, and it is just still saying firewall manager saying, hey, you have a hub that is connecting to some on-premises infrastructure, but you don't have firewall connected to this, right? So if we go inside this and then security configuration, so we're connected to the hub. In fact, if I go to the hub, it would be better. So I go to the virtual WAN on the other tab here, and from virtual WAN, I click that virtual WAN, and then I go to hub. So this is the hub that is connected. If I go inside the hub, so there is the firewall. So then we can connect to the firewall through this. So it says no firewall connected here. And so if I click the firewall manager, so there is select virtual hub. So this is selected. And then it says here, you want to deploy a firewall. So there is next, Azure firewall. So if I click next, then it goes there. You want to deploy which level of firewall to the hub. So we already deployed. If I go to the firewall here, firewall is already connected to one VNet, right? So that is a separate VNet which has nothing to do with that hub. For the virtual hub, living inside the virtual WAN, if you want to connect a firewall to that as well, so that would be cool because then you will have this firewall connected here centrally, and suppose it's a premium firewall. So it has all the features. So whichever traffic is inbound, outbound traffic will be then checked against those 65,000 or I don't know, it was 65,000, I guess. 65,000 rule sets or types of attacks can happen. So all will be checked. This virtual hub. Virtual hub connects to all the VNets that are there or any other branches as well. So whatever on-premises traffic is coming is being connected to the VNets, and but they go through the firewall. So you deploy the firewall obviously to the center where all the traffic is connecting to. If I go there, so suppose I go for standard firewall, and then if I go previous, so there is a specified number of public IP addresses. So one public IP address you need, or 240 up to maximum is 240 public IP addresses. You can sometimes you want two public IP addresses just to have high availability of connection, uh, right? So or suppose you don't want to deploy a firewall, then there's a disable button here as well. So there's a default deny policies of what firewall do is whenever you deploy a firewall, the first rule is deny everything, right? And then you allow one by one whatever you want to allow, right? So that's one thing there. So consider click partner, and then they're saying that you can choose to enable a security partner provider as a security provider for this virtual hub for filtering internet traffic. So there are no partner security partner providers that can actually filter traffic for you. There are applications, checkpoint application, there's Zscaler, there's iBoss, the iBoss portal, integration guide. So this is, you know, so it does say that VPN gateway is required for security partner provider integration. So I keep it disabled, but you can get some extra security features from security partners. Obviously, you have to pay for that. And then review and confirm. So this hub, we are pretending, so it is connecting to different branches, users, express route. So we are putting that firewall, attaching the firewall to this virtual hub, and then if we had a traffic coming from on premises, either a branch or express route, which is also still from the branch but fast traffic, and or also from single VPN user connecting. So as long as they're on premises, obviously, then they can use hub. And on the hub, we have a firewall, better premium. But if the company does not cannot afford to pay, then go for standard as well or basic. Well, so that would then secure your all types of traffic here. Now this virtual hub level deployment is going on, and it might take some time as well. But you know that terminology that the firewall was using again and again. So I'm going to go to firewall manager again, and firewall manager. Or whenever we are talking about firewall, so it's better to go directly to a firewall manager, because all the firewalls that you have created will be showing here. So deployments firewall manager, it says virtual networks. There is one virtual network that it is deployed, one virtual hub that the firewall is deploying now, and then application delivery platforms. So obviously we don't have an on-premises big application that is connecting to this, or a big application that is inside VNet. But there is a web application firewall as well. So we will be discussing that as well. But for now, we're going for anything firewall inside Firewall Manager. So with Firewall Manager, there's a getting started as well, and that also shows that where else you can deploy firewall. So application gateway security coverage, Azure front door security coverage. So Azure front door is also another upcoming topic that we're going to be discussing that the firewall can connect to. So if we go to firewall policies here, we already saw that there are Now it says zero hop. I think, yeah, I haven't connected this particular policy because it's still being created right now. And in fact, we did connect the firewall policy, which was default deny policy, not this one. But once the hub is fully functional, then we can connect this firewall policy. Then it will say one hub, one VNet, right? This firewall policy. So it's still deploying, but we already connected a firewall actually. So it doesn't have this policy yet. So firewall policy, we understand now that it has rule sets, 65,000 of those, and it checks in real time against those rule sets any kind of connection request. Is it a legit connection or is it a hacker attempt? Hacking attempt, right? Then security partner providers, you have to have VPN connection to those partners, and um, we already know that secured virtual hubs are used for that. So work with security partner providers to secure traffic between VNets and the internet. So if I go for secure virtual hub here, then it does show us that, hey, you can create a already firewall applied or firewall deployed virtual hub. So already we are in the process of deploying a virtual WAN, right? So if I go for existing virtual WAN, so we already have one, and it shows here include VPN gateway to enable security partner providers. So this is the same thing that we when we were creating a virtual WAN, it was asking if you want a security partner, then um, go for you must have a VPN gateway. So existing vWAN, virtual WAN is already there. We don't have connectivity with the partner, so we don't need that, right? Don't need to click include VPN gateway. So, but this is something that we already deployed. You can deploy virtual WAN based virtual hub from here, or what we were doing from here. This is pretty much the same thing which it shows here. If you have existing hub, then you connect the firewall there, but we are already connecting firewall here. We have already connected firewall here when we were creating a virtual WAN inside a virtual hub. Then there is distributed denial of attacks, denial of service attacks protection plans. So this is DDoS. DDoS protection leverages the scale and elasticity of Microsoft's global network to bring massive distributed denial of service mitigation capacity. Mitigation means if somebody sends huge traffic to Microsoft networks, then um, mitigation means Microsoft has the means and tools and the infrastructure to repel, to deny that attack happening on Microsoft networks. And so it says that we have enough protection from distributed denial of service attacks in every Azure region. And Microsoft's DDoS protection service protects your Azure applications by scrubbing traffic at the Azure network edge before it can impact your services availability. So as soon as a huge traffic is coming to your network, it hits your edge of the network. It tries to enter from some interface to your network. At that level, it starts scrubbing the traffic, which means going through the traffic, checking if it's legit or it's an attack, DDoS attack, and then it repels the DDoS attack if it sees some patterns that are known for identifying a distributed denial of service attack. Right? So if I click the learn more here, then it goes for always on monitoring and automatic DDoS network attack mitigation. It mitigates or repels or removes or denies the attack, minimize application downtime and latency during attacks, set up multi-layer protection within minutes. It says that defend against a comprehensive set of network layer 3 to 4 layer 3 4 attacks and from common application layer 7 attacks deployed with Azure Application Gateway Web Application. So Azure Application Gateway Web Application Firewall WAF. So through this, the protection is done for the application to protect application from huge traffic coming there just to stop the services of the application or DOS attack. Action is easy to enable or on any new or existing virtual network, requires no user configuration or application or resource changes. Inline DDoS protection is offered through a partner network virtual appliances deployed with Azure Gateway Load Balancer. So you can deploy partner network checkpoint router, suppose, or checkpoint DDoS attack mitigator, some certain appliances that you can purchase from partner networks as well that repel the attacks as well. So WAF or Web Application Firewall does that. It protects the applications from DOS attacks or denial of service attacks. It operates seamlessly with Azure services. So protect your apps with the security Microsoft uses, and then eliminate critical business impact with rapid response. So have rapid response, avoid unforeseen costs or DDoS attacks. So Microsoft says that Microsoft invests more than $1 billion annually on cybersecurity research and development. We employ more than 3,500 security experts who are dedicated to data security and privacy only. Azure has more certifications than any other cloud provider. These are international standards certification, HIPAA, IRS, CJIS. So obviously, those who certify Azure that yes, you follow our standards of ISO or ISE or HIPAA standards. So they check their whole infrastructure and then they, you know, give them a certificate that yes, it is ISO 2007 certified or ISO 2700 or 2600 certified, whatever the standards more names are. There are protection pricing as well. The main thing about DDoS is that you just enable it and start paying, and in the background, the DDoS protection just keeps on going, right? So there's a status. It says there that what is the status now? Is there any update 44 seconds ago that was there any DDoS attack happened on these regions anywhere, right? So if I go to Azure Service Health, the service status is healthy locations are all blue, and affected locations would be this orange triangle. So this means all the locations are across the planet. All the locations are okay. They are all blue, right? So that is what's going on, or that's how you can check the DDoS related services. What's going on here? But you just have to enable it and then just simply run it and start paying. Okay, so it's not willing to go there. Oh, it's still deploying virtual hub. You're kidding me. Yeah, actually, this one might take. No, I actually attach it to a firewall, so yeah, this deployment may take some time because in the background it's deploying it on a virtual machine, set of virtual machines. So DDoS attack, you can go for create DDoS protection plan. So all it's gonna then start that tags and review plus create. So yeah, I don't need to create that because then all at once it's gonna charge me for that. But it's just you need to know the pricing plan for that and protection status, load balancer. What is our DDoS attack? Distributed denial of service attack. A service is a type of attack where an attacker sends more requests to an application than the application is capable of handling. This depletes resources, affecting the application's availability and its ability to service customers. Over the past few years, the industry has seen a sharp increase in attacks, which are becoming more sophisticated and larger in magnitude. DDoS attacks can target any endpoint that's publicly reachable through the internet. So That's the main thing about denial of service attacks here. And service, so I'll just put it here as well. So denial of service attacks and the firewall protection. So what is that? So that's and what does it protect? Public IPs in an Azure Resource Manager based virtual network are currently the only type of protected resource. Platform as a service, PaaS services, multi-tenant are not supported. So it says that what are you protecting? What resource on our side you're protecting from those attacks? So they're saying public IP addresses. So whatever resource, suppose you have a virtual machine with a public IP, or you have a VNet bastion host with public IP, and you have a database with public IP. So whatever has public IP and reachable on the internet, DDoS attack, DDoS service will, or DDoS protection will do that protection, protect that thing service. So, and then it says that monthly charge includes protection for 100 public IP addresses is $4,000 per month. Overage charges more than 100 public IP addresses $40 per resource per month. So, network protection is enabled at the VNet level. All protected resource types within the virtual network will be automatically protected, and network protection is enabled on the virtual network. When Azure Application Gateway with WAF is deployed in a protected virtual network, there are no additional charges for WAF. Pay for the application gateway at the lower known non-WAF rate. So what it says here in English is that suppose you have a VNet here and you have deployed already a firewall on the virtual hub level. And then there is a VNet, and in the VNet you have some kind of application there, right? You have some kind of application, a virtual machine, and then there's an application. For that, uh, if you have deployed WAF or web application firewall as well, because you are paying for this firewall, then you don't need to pay for this firewall. This will be web application firewall is actually protecting that application because you already have a firewall on the hub virtual hub level or on the VNet level. Suppose you have that and you do deploy a WAF as well. So charges for firewall will be cut, but either WAF will be free or it will be very, very low charges. So that makes sense as well. And okay, so other than that, while the virtual WAN is still being deployed, and we talked about DDoS as well. Then we'll check. So if I go back here, so in the firewall manager, then we have that WAF as well, WAF policies, web application firewall policies. We click add here and then create a new WAF policy. So web application firewall is another, so malicious attacks such as SQL injection cross-site scripting, XSS, and other OWASP. The top 10 threats could cause service outage or data loss and pose a big threat to web application owners. So, web application firewall protects your web applications from common web attacks, keeps your service available, and helps you meet compliance requirements. Right? So that's a lot of application based attacks as well. And so either you have a regional WAF application gateway, which means that your application is deployed in a suppose Toronto branch, and then it is connecting to your uh, VNet. Hence, you have a gateway, or you have the application deployed in your VNet already, and you're protecting that. So there's resource and then policy name. Suppose we go for Amir dash policy dash WAF, web application firewall, or WAFL. Oh, I should not name the tweet. So protection mode is detection, or you want to prevent as well. So prevention would actually deny traffic. Hopefully, there are less false positives. But the WAF has an extensive wizard as well. And when managed rules are coming here, then is a pre-configured rule is set is enabled by default. This rule set protects your web application from common threats defined in the top 10 OWASP categories. Default rule set is managed by the Azure WAF service. Rules are updated as needed for new attack signatures. So I click learn more here. WAF engine on Azure Application Gateway. The Azure Web Application Firewall engine is the component that inspects traffic and determines whether a request includes a signature that represents a potential attack and takes appropriate action depending on the configuration. So next version of WAF engine, improve performance, increase scale, better protection, and richer feature set. Support for new features. There are many new features that are only supported in Azure WAF engine. CRS 3.2, increase request body size limit to 2 MB, WAF 2 version 2 metrics per rule exclusions, increase scale limits, request logging for custom rules. So there are some application based firewall rules that are added here. That's policy settings, custom rules, association, tags. There are managed rules here, and there are just 12 of them. If I click expand all, then they have failed to parse request body, multi-part request body strict validation, possible multi-part unmatched boundary. So there are some application specific related attacks or attack signatures are added there that it will protect against. So we expand this only 12. So that's a lot of signatures there. The rule sets are there, or the way the attack happens. If this type of attack happens, so WAF can detect that a new connection request. But if any of these types of attacks are happening or not, so it has the ability to detect that all. So an OWASP 3.2, there are categories there, but there's older categories as well. OWASP is just a security set of rules for application protection, right? If you go to policy settings, then it goes for a web application firewall policy allows you to control access to your web applications by a set of custom and managed rules. There are multiple settings that apply to all rules. So WAF policy allows you to control access to your web applications. Who can access, who cannot. So max request body size. So it just says that inspect request body. So when somebody's requesting connectivity connection, then it will inspect that whole access. That is it access coming from legit resource, and are there any signatures inside or patterns inside this connection request that looks like it's a hacker attack or not. So it's gonna inspect the connection. And then there are custom rules. If I go configure a policy with custom authorized rules, authored rule. Once a rule is matched, the corresponding action defined in the rule is applied to the request. Once such a match is processed, rules with lower priorities are not processed further. Okay, so I'm just gonna click the add custom rule here, and so it just says that it's gonna match an IP or match a number. Select the type of data that this rule condition should evaluate for a match. It's gonna check which IP address the request is coming from, or if you go for number, so match variable, request method, query string, request URI, request headers. Whoever is doing a connection request, it will check against all these, that the request headers, request as a header as well, header has information, URI, what is the link from it is connecting, query string, what somebody is requesting a connection to do some kind of search or query. So it checks that is it a hacker, the pattern of hacking going on here or not. So you can create a rule here that match an IP address with number with or string. There is some random information there, alphanumeric, and then geolocation. So which area it is coming from, right? So from such a country that you don't have any business in, a request is coming to connect to your application, so then it can block that request as well. And there's a country region list here as well for that. So it's pretty extensive. If you go for IP address, then deny traffic if it is coming from specific IP ranges, right? So you can then check that what's going on, and string then it contains select a transformation, lowercase, uppercase, URL decode, URL encode. So there are many ways an application attack on an application can happen, and whatever knowledge they have put some rules against it, and we have to just do our due diligence and do our homework and understand the custom rules there. There's that other page that offers the information on how to go for those rules here and what do they mean. But we get an overall idea that they're matching IP addresses, they're matching request for connectivity, or they are matching some query that somebody has put some query that find the name of that person and when he or she joined the company from your application. So you don't want any kind of weird query. They're not supposed to be here or unauthorized. So this rule or set of rules really denies such type of requests and consider suspicious ones as an attack and deny them altogether. That's pretty cool and extensive kind of access control that they have built in for the application activity. Associated application gateways, associate this WAF policy, whatever policy, strict policy you have created back there, to which application gateway you want to attach or associate this. So if I click add association, it says, hey, do you have an application gateway? Do you have HTTP listener? You have a route path? You want to connect to that? So suppose I go for application gateway. I don't have application gateway because I don't have an application to create a gateway. I could create an application gateway and then pick here, like I created a virtual WAN and then virtual hub and then attached a firewall. You can attach this strict policy, whatever rules you have configured there, whatever policy you have selected there, you want to attach, associate with the application gateway, and that through that gateway the application traffic goes, right? So the firewall has to be on a gateway. And then tags and review plus request. So we get to know that within the firewall manager, all types of firewall deployments are there. Then web application firewall has extensive policy settings. Managed rules are there. You can select. We haven't selected any, and custom rules are also there. So these three are the main defender related options for application protection on internet. And that is what WAF is all about. I'm not going to actually create that because I don't have application gateway here. I don't have an application to connect application gateway to. Kids. Okay. So these are the four types of firewall. We went through the Azure firewall policies. Security partner, we just have to pay for the security partners. DDoS, you just have to enable and then pay for that. Everything happens automatically in the background. And then what's inside the web application firewall policies, we peek through that too. We also went for attaching a firewall to the virtual networks, and we created a virtual hub within the virtual WAN and connected a firewall there as well. So that would then cover the Azure firewall topic for us. And we're going to be going for next week, we're going to be going for the remaining network related security, and then we're going to switch to SQL server related securities as well. So next week or the week after would be the last class for the whole course. And yeah, that's it. Have a nice weekend, and do follow up with all those and make summaries somewhere and through the video, and make those summary notes available for job applications when you're applying for a job. So what I need to do now is to definitely delete everything because I got charged as well. Okay, it's deployed now. Virtual WAN is deployed. So virtual WAN, and inside the virtual WAN is hubs, and this is a virtual hub. And inside the virtual hub is the firewall is attached now, right? Inside the firewall manager, we can just see that yes, firewall manager says that yes, there's a virtual hub. So if I go to firewalls, actually one would prefer to go to firewall managers here, and so if I check firewall and firewall manager, that would be my main destination. And in virtual hubs, yes, now it's showing there with default deny policy, and with virtual networks also firewall is connected. So this is overall Azure firewall and all its thousands of rule sets, and WAF has its own set of application protection uh, features, right? So that's it, and I'm just gonna read the resource groups. Thank God I remember, okay? And delete resource group and go for it. So it should delete pretty much everything I created. Virtual WAN I created, VNet I created, firewalls created, right? So vir okay. Virtual hub, virtual WAN, public IP, firewall policy. So yeah, it's gonna delete everything, and that's it. Have a nice weekend, guys. So bye bye. Thank you. Bye.